Good evening, friend. We're beginning to run out of tales about me, but still, you seek them out. I cannot help but be touched. What tale do you think they have for you tonight?
Moriden Athluan.
Skyrim was not the only land to benefit from the mighty hands of the Dragonborn. Even the distant island of Solstheim, part of the ancient home of the Dunmeri people, was to feel the effects of his passing.
On the roads of Skyrim, Moriden had long been chased and hunted by a cult. This cult served a master whose name had long been lost to legend, the name of Mirak, the first Dragonborn.
Ah, this one. I should have realized.
Seeking only to stop the pursuit of his life, Moriden would travel to Solstheim to seek out this Mirak and silence him forever.
They have that part right, at least.
What he sought was not what he found. Instead, he found an island under siege, a people who moved as in a dream, and a Daedric lord who pulled the strings as a puppet.
Come now, and hear the tale of Moriden Athluan's time among the Skal, and of the fall of Mirak.
One of the shorter tales about me, but an important one. I learned things on that journey. Things that nobody should ever learn about themselves. Most of what they will tell you, well, better than most of their tales. The truth, though, the truth is not what the bards would have you believe. "26 Suns Dawn, 4th Era, 202. We were all awakened in the middle of the night by an earthquake, a large one. Larger even than the one that we had attributed to the possible return of Queen Potema some months ago. A quick round of the museum told us that there hadn't been any damage that was immediately obvious, but the event left us somewhat shaken, no pun intended. As dawn arrived, and I was able to relax somewhat from the quake, a new feeling hit me. Something like a Daedra, but somehow different. I wasn't sure what to make of it, and though it affected my mood, I kept it to myself. Instead, I wandered into the streets of Solitude. Many were still checking on their homes and property, but I was, well, the spiritual vision of fishing, looking for where this new feeling was strong and where it wasn't. This led me to the last place I had expected. I'd feared that it might take me back to Potema's catacombs for a third round. Instead, I was led into the sewers of the city. After a quick run back to the safe house to grab my gear, I entered the sewers. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, and at first all seemed as I'd have expected. It was slimy, water was everywhere, and the least said about some of the other things I found, the better. After I passed through a door somewhat deeper in the sewers, though, I've not seen plants such as these. And the smaller earthquakes that kept going off around me did little to quiet my growing apprehension. Something strange is going on here, and I begin to wonder if the quake we thought was related to Potema was nothing of the sort at all, just a coincidence that worked out in our benefit. Part of me said it was foolhardy to continue on without at least sending word to Folk Firebeard. I ignored that part of me. I found 2 bodies down here, but though they appeared human at first, something seems off about them. Their armor is something different as well, golden, yet stronger than any gold I've seen made into armor. There is something distinctly wrong here as well. The very area around me appears almost as though I were inside of a tree or some such, though it should be rock or cut stone. And the presence I felt earlier is only getting stronger. How can it feel like a Daedric Lord, but not? It makes no sense. I turned a corner, and before I could properly set myself, I almost found myself in mortal combat with... I'm not even sure what exactly she is. I say she, but I'm not even sure that applies. Stada almost attacked me, but then pulled herself short, seeming recognition in her eyes. When she identified me as the mortal who assisted Lord Sheogorath, I knew I was in trouble. She said the Lord's name, and a large part of what I was seeing started making sense, or rather the lack of sense made sense. The presence I was feeling had a touch of him, now that I knew to look for it, but there was something more as well. Stada had come from Lord Sheogorath's personal realm of oblivion, the Shivering Isles, in search of help. I didn't fully understand everything, but the short of it is that there is some kind of prison break in progress, and she needs help to get it all under control. Since I have a special kind of resilience as the result of my interactions with her lord, I've just been recruited. This is not going to end well for somebody. I just hope it's not me. I suppose that the first thing one must do in the realm of the mad god is to suppress any desire to make things make sense. Stada, as I have now learned, is essentially the last of her company at the prison. A companion, Dylora, was supposed to have been holding the gates, but is nowhere in evidence. Worse, the exiles, the prisoners, had been manning them when we returned. So while the last Golden Saint, whatever that means, in the asylum holds the gates, I am being sent to search for Dylora, whom Stada is certain is still alive. Otherwise they'd have put her body on display for all to see. Charming. I've been directed to a small village called Stopgap, where one of the exiled chiefs has taken up residence. The job, at least, makes plenty of sense. Find and kill that leader, then find and release Dylora. That, at least, I can do. The chief, Svarig, was both simple to kill and a fool. The first need not be explained. The second, though, is bore out by what I found in the village. After I had slaughtered all those with him, I entered the only large building and located a note from the man who seems to be behind the prison break, a battle mage called Thoron. The note made it clear that they had been waiting for Stada to abandon the seducer, who I assume is Dylora. Once that happened, they swooped in to capture her. Thoron has questions for her. The directions to her current location are rather clear, as were Svarig's directions to eat this note after reading it to prevent others from learning of my plans. Hence, Svarig was a fool, as those directions, obviously, had not been followed. I followed the roads along the outside of the prison walls as the note had instructed. The sights were, well, some of them I won't even attempt to describe. Others were more mundanely bizarre, such as the giant fishman statue that had a dead something in front of it that had been apparently trying to worship by throwing cyrodiilic spade tails at its feet. Given that it was dead, I'm guessing that didn't go well. The last thing, though, that I expected was a merchant. An Argonian merchant who calls himself Sees the Moon. As one might expect, he didn't seem totally in touch with reality, but he did have something I found interesting. Some kind of ore, something rare, he says, and hard to smelt and smith. In return for finding a treasure for him in a nearby ruin, one I passed along the way, he promises to teach me to smith this ore. So yes, I agreed to it. Depending on what this ore is, a quick diversion to learn how to make use of it might unleash a great deal of power to my hands indeed. The quick diversion had me going backwards even further than stopgap. I had assumed that the Argonian was a little insane. We are in the Shivering Isles, after all. But I didn't expect that the item that he wanted, the treasure he was so set on getting, would be an iron pot. How was that going to help him? Putting it on his head or something? I picked it up anyhow, and found something else underneath it. The Heart of Discord. Maybe this was the actual thing the Argonian wants. I returned to the lizard. I handed him the heart, and he cast it aside like rubbish. Sniffing, he said he smelled the object he sought on me. I handed him the pot. He put the pot on his head. I have no words. I left the Argonian behind, his journal describing the ways to smith madness ore in hand. It doesn't make any sense at all. Shocking. Now that I've wasted my time on this diversion, the night is coming on, or I feel it should be. As with, I would imagine, any plane of oblivion, such as the soul cairn that I have more experience with than I want, it is hard to say how time passes here. I can only trust my own internal clock, which says it's getting late. I found the cave that I believe the Battle Mage's note refers to, but I'm hesitant to enter during nighttime hours. This entire place is, by definition, insane, and I don't want insanity to merge with the darkness if I can avoid it. I don't need to face actual nightmares here. 27 Suns Dawn, 4th Era, 202. Things are getting strange here. No, that's a given in the Isles. Things are not taking the path I thought that they would. No, that doesn't work either. Fine, enough of the dramatic-sounding lines. I entered the cave and was all but immediately detected by the battle mage Thoron. The conversation was short, but the main thing is this. He is not trying to escape this prison, he's trying to get into the prison. And he'd thought to use his capture of Dylora to catch Stata as well. Combat ensued about that point, as one actually would expect. After I shouted him across the room and put an arrow or two into him, Thoron vanished through his magic. I have no idea where he's gone, but he is gone, and that is enough. I unchained Dylora from the wall, and we spoke for a short moment before she looked around nervously. She thinks the crystals here can hear us, so won't speak a word of what she had learned from the battle mage until we were back with Stata. Fair enough. No sense in telling the same tale twice anyhow, and my curiosity, though piqued, can wait a little longer. Once back with Stada, the stories and plans and plots all came out. I found myself overwhelmed by a combination of things that make actual sense, meshed together with things that do not, yet still somehow do. It's the Shivering Isles. What do you want? Dylora the Mazkin, what we would call a dark seducer, has pieced together some of the plan. Thoron is trying to take control of the route to break through the walls of the prison. Why? We have no clue. We do, however, have a good idea of where he is. Indeed, I may have seen the place when I was looking for that pot for the Argonian. The problem is that the place is sealed off with thick amber, which only a major artifact of the Isles can break. Stada gave me a place to look, so that is covered. That, however, is not enough. Dylora also thinks we can divide Thorin's temporary army in two. All we need do is take something that belongs to each of the two groups, destroy a site of theirs, leave evidence behind, and watch the fires burn. It's an insane plan on all fronts, so it will go perfectly, I'm sure. Since I had already cleared out Stopgap, I made that my first stop. The plan is to take Void Essence from the lab under the main building, then set fire to the whole place and leave, and, I can't believe I'm saying this, a soul tomato from the second site here, then go to the grove where these tomatoes grow and reverse the process, leaving the void essence behind there. I've heard it said that truth is stranger than fictions. Insanity is stranger than truth, I suppose, and I'm not sure where that's leaving us. The idea of a soul tomato, an organic soul gem that even rots... No, thinking on this kind of madness is just... well, mad, you see. I need to be careful or I'll start talking to myself. With the lab burned, I made my way to the other side of the island to look for the garden where the soul tomatoes grow. Instead, I found the Near Corgi shop. You know that's the name because it's near a corgi. About 50 feet from one, to be precise. The owner... I could have sworn it was Lord Sheogorath at first. It may still be. Theodore is an amber craftsman, and he's agreed to show me how to carve and use the stuff. All I have to do is find him a piece of amber that looks like Sheogorath so he can use it to make a new bust of the Lord. I had no words before. I have fewer now. I'm not sure how that is possible, but here we are. I found the garden and grabbed all of the soul tomatoes that I could find. It amounted to about 6 or 7 of them. Maybe it's just the Isles, but how would one of these taste? I refrained from finding out, but I did suddenly wonder if these could be grown back at the museum in the safe house. An organic, ready-to-grow source of gems instead of needing to find them or buy them. This could be a massive boon to my enchanting studies. Depending on how quickly they grow. If they grow. I set fire to the garden, left a few void essence behind to be found, and then left before anyone could see me. A quick run back to Stopgap to plant a soul tomato, and the framing jobs were done. They'd have to be insane to believe this setup, which works out, since pretty much everyone here is to one degree or another. Possibly including myself. Maybe this is what I am supposed to be resilient to, as Stada put it at our first meeting. That done, I left to find the location of the amber picture of Lord Sheogorath in a place with the unlikely name of Root Canal. I'm not sure why, but those two words together make me shiver. Or maybe that's just the Shivering Isles getting to me. The tunnel was alive. I became convinced of it as I moved through it, entrances opening and closing ahead of me and behind me, and then open again and then closed. It was enough to make my head hurt trying to keep track of where I was, or where I was going, or when I was going there. I wasn't the only one to come here and lose direction. I found 3 of the exiles here as well, each dead long since. They had notes on them detailing their own demise, how their search for power among the exiles led to their deaths. I passed them by and kept pressing on. If the tunnels want me to find the amber I'm looking for, then they will provide me a path. Eventually, they did, leading me to a garden where, in a hollowed-out tree trunk, I found a piece of amber in the shape of Sheogorath. I thought I was crazy to do this, but if it's here, then I can't be, right? Right? 28 Suns Dawn, 4th Era, 202. I camped just outside the root canal, then made for the location of Nerve Shatter, the weapon that Stada thinks strong enough to break through the giant amber wall. If she's right, then I have a second wall of it I found in the root canal yesterday, but that will wait until I have found the full thing. I find holding on to thoughts harder and harder. I fear that the Isles are starting to have a decided effect on me. And as long as I recognize that, then I'm likely still sane. If I ever lose that, though, will I even care? Nerve Shatter is supposedly held in a fortress ruin called Boragov, a place I passed yesterday when I was looking for a root canal. Within, the exiles are also looking for the weapon, or perhaps they are just simply trying to defend it. The problem is that they are defending it against the wrong threat. They think that a golden saint or a dark seducer will try to take it. They would do so in a mad charge, I think. However, I will do as I have always done. Besides, I outnumber them all. What chance do they have? That decided, I slowly made my way through the fortress until I had put an arrow in one of Thorin's trusted lieutenants. On the wall behind him was my goal, and with this warhammer in my hands, I will test it out back in the root canal to be sure I haven't wasted my time. If I have, well, surely the Oriel and the Mazkin will have another mad plan. I smashed an amber wall, and, satisfied that the mole would do the job required of it, I rejoined the two Daedra at the gates. Almost as soon as I did, we all three raced off to the root Nexus, where we thought to find Thorin. The Nexus was located behind a waterfall that hid the entrance, and we entered cautiously. Thorin has to know we're coming, after all. It wouldn't do to be trapped and killed easily. It was only a short trek to the amber wall, and just like the one I had tested it on, it shattered into an infinite number of pieces. Beyond, we found Thorin and several of his lackeys. The usual posturing occurred, only interrupted by the said lackeys' realization that the other groups had betrayed them. This not only irritated Thorin, worthwhile in its own right, but started a four-way brawl in the cavern. The lackeys were nothing. Thorin demonstrated his control over lightning magic, so it mattered little to the fight. I beat him down with my blade, hammering into him with all the skill I've learned. It seemed that he was on the edge of falling. Then he called on his patron. He'd mentioned he had one, and I think now I know who it is. The Daedric Lord of Order, whose blade had been riding Thorin's back the entire time. The one Daedric Lord who could, just by virtue of his nature, take on the Lord of Madness and have a chance of victory. There are some signs of an era changing. One of the more reliable ones has been the Grey March, the assault on the Shivering Isles conducted by Lord Sheogorath's sworn enemy, the Daedric Prince Jiggalag. The thing about that is that, in a way, the two were the same being. That changed during the last Grey March, which Immortal, some even saying it was the hero of Kvatch, became Lord Sheogorath, and in doing so set both free. So why stage a whole Grey March when you can get someone else to be the decoy for you? I intend to ask Thorin when I catch up to him. He broke a hole in the floor, and I will follow him. Thorin certainly thought a lot of his control over this realm. He was insane enough to think that if he commanded Stada and Daelora to fight me, they would, just because he said to. In Skyrim, that would never have worked. Here in the Shivering Isles, though, it actually did, and I had to face off against both of the Daedra. The fight was a stiff one, forcing me to be constantly on the move to prevent being surrounded. Once they had both fallen, though, Thorin decided that it was time to get serious and charged me himself. Bad move. He was letting his frustration and anger take hold, additional weapons I could use on him. Our blades met, and combat began. A few short exchanges later, and he was defeated. Thorin tried calling on Jiggalag once again, and a bright light flashed. When it faded, well, Thorin was trying out a new career opportunity as a crystal decoration. Stada and Daelora thanked me for my help and sent me on my way with a few rewards and promises to be of help should I ever need it. I'm not sure why I'd ever need the assistance of two major Daedra from the realm of pure madness, but I'm sure it will come to me eventually. Aryan is never gonna believe this one.